again, dear friend, please, I'd like to ask you some questions, but not ask you. I want to know your opinion about your visit to St. Petersburg, about football championship, about most about our city, people. In our communication, I catch that you were clever and very, very attentive man, and you catch many interesting characteristics of our people and our city. Okay. Thanks. Let's start.
Hello, St. Petersburg. Good morning. My name is Nene, coming from Hong Kong all the way. Basically, I finished my last 12 days staying only in St. Petersburg. It is my first time visiting your grand country. I never been to Moscow, but only St. Petersburg, and all because the past several years I realized Russia will be hosting this World Cup. Then I gradually, trying to do some homework and research in order to decide if I'm going to come over Russia, whether I should visit a number of cities, or maybe only one city, or maybe just Moscow, or maybe just St. Petersburg. Then it was a little surprise to me. After much of my research, I started to realize I cannot travel more than one city if having considered St. Petersburg to be a good place to be. So I decide I will only stay in St. Petersburg because this is too much to offer. It might be a little bit a waste of my time, just if hopping, a couple of the other World Cup cities within Russia, because St. Petersburg, it just so much, at least according to all the research I've done before I come. So I'm happy that I'd rather focus my time in St. Petersburg. And my friend tells you the truth. I think I make a correct decision. In fact, what I've experienced over the past 12 days turns out to be far exceeding my expectation. With a lot of good things. Of course, no place is perfect, but I tend to believe it's just tremendous, massive, good things about St. Petersburg, which just cover, if ever there's whatever little tiny thing which may not be very good. In very specific terms, I must consider people in St. Petersburg, I can't generalize it, St. Petersburg as Russia, okay? The people in St. Petersburg is one of the finest I ever visit, I ever come across. To say they just friendly, maybe just a little bit understate, a bit of cliche. I realize they are very straightforward, they very direct, they helpful, they take the initiative to give assistance and help, and they not just doing it passive. They, you visit certain place that some local people, they might pretend they friendly, but over here in St. Petersburg, it is truly unique. I think they doing it from their heart, which is quite unique. I gotta tell the truth, and I've been visiting certainly in my previous holidays or career or business trips, over 20-30 different countries across all the continents, you name it, Africa, Middle East, and most part of Europe and South America and America, and certain Asia, coming from Hong Kong. So I do know way I make maybe kind of comparison. But it is such a St. Petersburg is such a grand city. It's just glorious. With so much to offer, and at least compare when it comes to World Cup. In fact, one of the main reasons for my being over here is I'm just doing some sort of report and research, not for newspaper, but professional research of how to organize a major sporting event for some of my clients, as I'm being a sports consultant based in Hong Kong and with business relationship in China and United Kingdom. So I think it's important for me to be as open-minded as possible. I've been visiting all the World Cup since Italia 1990, America, France, and so I visit all of these World Cup. And when it comes to because the final was finished in Moscow 2 days ago, and the people sitting in Moscow or in fever Zurich we always, at least on the paper, ask themselves in order to judge how successful this World Cup, and they will use always a very cliched description, which is all about legacy. Are there any legacy to be left behind, whether it's to people domestically or people from outside? I'm trying to figure that out, comparing with the previous World Cup. A lot of legacy left in Brazil, to be very honest with you. But St. Petersburg, I think you got a high chance to have a legacy, positive one, especially for a local. And in a number of ways, I guess Russia, I think they need the World Cup, much the same that FIFA would need to have World Cup as well, strategically, for one particular reason. Of all the World Cup being conducted over the past century, there's one interesting figure that maybe it wasn't mentioned in the press or media, and people just taking it for granted. Most of the host nations were being conducted in relatively medium-sized countries, smaller-sized countries like Italy, France, or Spain, or even Brazil is relatively getting a little bigger, more sizable. The World Cup in America in 1994 is quite big, okay, but if you look back the history of the past 20 years, Russia is the one which appears to be the biggest. I couldn't remember exactly the number of host cities over here. It's probably 12 or 14, something like that. But in any case, a big country like Russia, with the amount of population, I think they make a correct decision in a way to be associated with the World Cup, and much the same goes to decision granted by FIFA and its committee. And of course, okay, that built easily generate another argument, because the next World Cup will be staged in Qatar, which is tiny, okay? Then you will consider, just if ever we are going to have a crystal ball, whether or not we might have a good legacy left behind. But I know the answer already, because even though Qatar might have a very good legacy left behind, but if you look at the people, it's tiny over there, meaning one World Cup benefit. In Russia, you're talking about billions of people, but in Qatar, no matter how hard they try, they will only benefit a very small amount of people in places with very little sporting history. So strategically or academically speaking, we keep talking about legacy, but legacy is not something that that you could immediately recognize the party over, the finale over the next day or something. It might take a number of years for you to realize what sort of legacy will be installed in the history of the modern Russia. But I can't help but it's just not a very tough conclusion. I think it's gonna look pretty good. The benefit of the World Cup, there will always be shortcoming, but by and large, on the surface, on the face of it, I think it's going to look pretty good. I know there are city in other part of Russia which might not have the advantage as good or as positive as Moscow or St. Petersburg, and they might need to face a little bit of struggling. Specifically, I'm a little bit worrying about the stadium. As always, they built a new stadium, 60,000, 70,000 or something like that. Whether or not they will be able to accommodate or to host large sporting event or local football matches, things like that, weeks in and weeks out. I'm not too sure of that. That may be one of the shortcomings. But by and large, or in making another conclusion about the experience or the feeling that I like to remark about St. Petersburg or the World Cup, you can never have a good World Cup without good local people. But I think you get all the things that you have in mind about the local people over here. Extremely honest, extremely polite, extremely friendly, and very artistic as well. And they know how to party, and you find street performer every block, every street corner, and that is few country that I would consider, hopefully I'll make another a visit or revisit in not so distant future, and it is what St. Petersburg is all about. A final footnote, might be trying to stay away from the mainstream, the world media, the English media, especially the CNN and BBC, because they talk something which is not accurate at all. And being not accurate is not a sin, but in times they may be publishing things which are in fact the direct opposite, and it doesn't make sense to me. So come over here, and before come over here and do your own homework and try to find out a little bit more. So that's St. Petersburg, yeah. And I'm now on my way back to London, and I must say as many spasiba as possible to St. Petersburg in Russia.